You know, I just researched how we developed some specialty batteries, and even NPR did a story on this, vanadium redox flow batteries with our tax dollars, American invention, but those batteries are now being developed in China, and no American manufacturer is even given a chance to work on them. And that's not an isolated story. We've got threats. Tell us about the threats to innovation from China, big business, and our own government.
Well, the first thing I should tell your listeners and your viewers, your audience, is that so here we had this great system that generated innovation that was so great for our country for a little over 200 years. And then approximately 10 to 15 years ago is when big tech got very heavily involved in changing the system. I think that what you would have to say the reason for it was to eliminate future competition. Because how would you compete with big tech? Well, you would have a startup with patented technology that no large entity could just take from you. And you could decide to sell it to them in an arm's length transaction if you wanted to, or you could have a startup that competed with them. And they'd have to out-innovate you to come up with something better than what you had. But of course, the large entities typically don't out-innovate the little guy because they're not going to innovate themselves out of business, where the little guy might.
True.
And what's needed is the little guy, because we need all these small startups that are competing with the large entities. But so they got a law passed in 2011 called the America Invents Act. We refer to it as the AIA, and it created and the lobbyists had armies of lobbyists had a great narrative that sounded compelling for why this new administrative court was needed rather than the old real court with a jury, with a real judge, with a lot of due process that these patent battles would take place in. No, we needed a more efficient administrative court that was faster and cheaper, et cetera. But the way they sold it, it sounded like a reasonable thing. I was one of the people fighting it, of course, and they did get it passed, and it has turned into a killing machine for patents. In fact, former Chief Judge Randall Rader referred to it as a death squad for patent rights.
Wow.
And right now, if you sue any large entity, not just tech, any entity in any industry for patent infringement, they will immediately get your patent into this administrative court where they have an 84% chance of invalidating your patent. 84%. That's the percentage of the patents that go through that process and get to a final written decision. And it is horrendous. This is the opposite of what our founders intended for this patent system. And this is the reason why we don't have startups competing with big tech and why China is threatening to take the lead in key future technologies. Because
Randy, I'm going to have to stop here. We're going to have to take a break. But I was there. I was going into Congress talking economic warfare when this army of lawyers and lobbyists came through trying to argue for them to adopt this system.